Uh-uh. Oh, dang, this dog better not bark. Come here. Come. Good boy.
All right. Well, good. I see us on Facebook. All right, you are now live on Facebook. It's 4:01 p.m. Start whenever you're ready.
Hello, hello, and thank you for joining us. Just giving you a couple of more seconds for all of our live streamers to come on in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, hello, my name is Phyllis Everett. I am from Saffron Trust Women's Foundation, an organization that looks to make a change in the health outcomes in Central Texas. We also work with pockets of Williamson County. We work with families, women and families in Central Texas. The purpose of this platform today is to be another vessel to bring awareness and address concerns about how COVID-19 affects our community. We're hoping that Austin is listening and that this platform reaches those who affect change in our community. And that's what we're hoping. We're also want our community to know that we hear you loud and clear. We don't only hear you, we see the things that are going on in our community, and we feel the things that are going on in our community. And so we're here to talk about those things and to be an advocate. And so with that being said, I'm just going to hand the floor over to Ms. Kimberly Holiday, who will be our host for this evening. Thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here for the Power Hour today. My name is Kimberly Holiday, known to most as LadyJoy, and I wear many hats. I am a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, and I'm also a social psychologist advocating for issues related to social justice. I am delighted and honored to serve as your virtual host for the next several weeks, all right? I welcome each of you to week 2 of the COVID effect. This is the Minority Table Talk, and today we are going to be discussing the very topic of birthing in the era of COVID-19. When you leave today, after the Power Hour, you will have a wealth of information and resources for birthing mothers. I want to let you know this is not just for mothers who are birthing. This is for those of you who are considering, having children in the future. This is also for the families of those who support and love someone who is birthing. And this is also for those who will find out in the near future that they were pregnant and they were not expecting to be. right? So that's why we're here today. Facilitating our conversation and our dialogue with our special guest is the intellectual, yes, and very beautiful Courtney Bailey, who is the Director of Issues and Engagement for Leadership Austin. Good afternoon, Courtney.
Hi, Kimberly. Thank you.
Hello. All right, so moving right into the meat of the show, I wanted to share just a snippet of the bio of our special guest speaker for today. I've had the pleasure to meet with her just a little bit, and she is a firecracker, and she is ready, baby. That is not on my notes. I added that in. So Darline Turner is the owner of Darline Turner Enterprises, Incorporated. Through this parent company, she founded Mamas on Bed Rest and Beyond in 2009, which is a full spectrum doula support, education, and resource service for high-risk pregnant women. Along with developing training programs for other doulas, in 2017, Darline established Healing Hands Community Doula Project, a 501c3 organization designed specifically to raise awareness. The goal of the project is to transform maternity care at the individual, systems, and institutional levels by addressing social detriments of health which directly impact Black women's health. Wow. Darline Turner, we welcome you to the show.
Hey, nice to see everybody.
Thank you for being here. So I'm actually just going to hand the floor over to you. That's how this works. And Courtney will facilitate the conversation with you, ask questions. We will also have questions from our audience since we are live. So I just want to give you an opportunity right at the beginning to just introduce who you are in a very warm and authentic way. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Phyllis, for considering having me on your show. Phyllis is always so kind and gracious. And just to start off, I'm a mom. I'm a single mom. I have 2 teenagers who I have shuttered to their rooms for this. And basically, I am passionate about maternity care, especially as it pertains to Black women. Both of my pregnancies were high risk. I've had 4 pregnancies total with 2 children. So anybody who do the math knows there were some issues in there. And it just through my own journey realized, even as a physician assistant, having had the background in medicine, I was woefully underprepared for the challenges that happened in my pregnancy, and just really wanted to make sure that no other woman went through that, and especially no other Black woman. So my practice is geared to any high-risk woman or any childbearing woman, but I have a specific passion and focus on the issues pertaining to Black moms.
Thank you. Would you like me to just jump in, Kimberly?
Yes.
All right. So again, my name is Courtney Bailey, and I'll be moderating this conversation with Darline. The hope is that this conversation provides an inclusive space where multiple perspectives are heard via the speaker, my questions, the audience questions, and the points of view from Phyllis and Kim. And from time to time, I'll use terms such as birthing people to recognize that not all people who become pregnant and give birth identify as a woman or a mother. So with that being said, I'll go into my first question, Darline. All pregnant women and birthing people, including those with confirmed or suspected COVID-19 infections, have the right to high quality care before, during, and after childbirth. Darline, can you explain the role of a doula and how a professionally trained doula can work with healthcare providers to ensure a safe and positive childbirthing experience for an expecting parent before and after?
Well, the issue and the reason that doulas are so important is because we spend a lot of continuous time with moms. I know in my practice and the doulas that I work with, we do home visits, we do prenatal visits. We're there for the entire time of the birth, and then for multiple visits postpartum. Not to, slam healthcare providers, but many times when a woman goes to see her OB or midwife, she's in the room, she's waited for sometimes a substantial amount of time, and the provider comes in and speaks to her for all of 5 minutes. And it's really just not enough time to review like what all has happened, what has happened from the previous visit to this particular visit. Does mom have any questions? Is there anything that is concerning to this birthing person that they want to have clarified? And so as a doula, we try to fill in those gaps, and whether it's we can answer the questions directly or we have the resources in which to do that. Our role is to empower moms and to arm them with the education and resources that they need so that they can make informed choices for themselves and their families.
Thank you for that. I see.
Those are just snapping.
So as a result of the pandemic, women and birthing people are opting for home births. Can you speak to the benefits of a home birth and some of the challenges that people should be aware of?
Well, first and foremost, I really want to clarify and say home births are safe births. And I think we all need to take a step back and remember that before the turn of, say, the 20th century, everybody was born at home. I mean, there were not hospitals. So this notion that a home birth is an unsafe birth, I mean, it can be, but so can a hospital birth. And I think we want to really clarify the fact that a safe birth has certain things in place, such as, you know, clean, sterile instruments, lots of clean, sterile towels or wipes or, you know, fabric of whatever sort, and trained people there. So if you have those elements, wherever you are can be a safe place to birth. Now, in terms of a home birth, why many women are opting for home births, first and foremost in this era of COVID, just to stay out of the hospitals because they're the hotbeds right now. People are, you know, sick people are in the hospitals. So, and we know COVID is highly contagious and sometimes you can have it and not know it. So the very nurse or doctor or somebody working with you could be infected and you don't know it, and then you're exposed. So many women are just saying, I don't even want to take that chance. I'm going to have a home birth. The other reason is that the hospitals, in their attempt to create a safe environment and to potentially stop the spread, they're saying no extraneous people. Well, extraneous is a relative term. Basically, they're saying no hospital personnel. But, you know, when you're birthing, you need support. You know, you need somebody there to help you through those rough contractions, to help provide comfort measures, to assure you that it's okay. Because you have moments when you feel like, I just can't do this anymore. And when hospitals and birthing centers say, okay, you know, you can only have either one visitor, is what they're calling it, or nobody, they're essentially eliminating a woman's entire support system, which we know in Black women further puts her at risk for an untoward event, because we know from data, not just from what I'm saying, that Black women are notoriously not listened to when they're saying they're in pain, when they're saying, I don't feel well, I think something's wrong. Oh, honey, it's okay. You're just in labor. Oh, honey, it's okay. You're just a pregnant mom. And we know that most of the untoward events, most of the morbidities, most of the complications that are happening with Black women could be prevented, have often been brought to healthcare providers' attention, and she's not been listened to. So by knocking out her partner, knocking out her doula, you're knocking out other people who can advocate for her.
Can you talk, so I like that you mentioned the fact that home birth can be a safe birth, and that you touched on implicit bias when it comes to the healthcare system, especially as it relates to Black women and people of color. Can you talk more about why Black women, even before this pandemic started, are at such high risk of dying from pregnancy complications?
I mean, the broad umbrella term is racism. I mean, we can just, you know, cut to the chase and say we live in a racist society. And even here in 2020, Black women are not taken seriously. Our complaints are not always immediately attended to. And the what do you want to call it? Demeanor is often, oh, here's another Black woman. I wonder if there is a daddy. Yeah, I mean, things that are kind of rolling around sometimes in providers' heads that if you ask them, they would absolutely deny it. But we know these are some of the thoughts. I've heard even recently, oh, I didn't know she was going to breastfeed. Like, well, did you ask her? I mean, it's a very simple thing. Ask mom if she's going to breastfeed, then support her to do that. But we're not even getting some of the same questions asked when, a mom goes into the hospital to have her baby. So because of that, many Black women are saying, hey, forget this. I'm going to have my birth my way. They're opting for birthing centers and they're opting for home births. And, when you're in a home birth, you don't have people that you don't want. Because I was going to say you don't have a multitude of people because sometimes there are a lot of people at a home birth, but there are people there that you want there. And within the realm of safety, typically, your midwife is there and there's a midwife assistant and what have you, but you can birth the way you want to birth. If you want to birth on all fours, you can birth on all fours. If you want to birth in a tub, you birth in a tub. If you want to roam from room to room, that is exactly fine. In the hospital, you can't do that because we can't see you on the monitor. And, oh, well, you can't go down this hallway. We don't want to go down there. We can't see you. All of those types of restrictions and things are gone. If you're a mom and you have a toddler and you don't necessarily have someone who can watch your toddler is right there. And, you and your partner, maybe you and the mom, her mom, you and the doula, we can all kind of come around the toddler while also serving mom. So a lot of women are just finding it much more comfortable, a lot less stress-free. Many of the things that are in the hospital that you're kind of worrying about and thinking about are just eliminated because you're home.
So we've been focusing a great deal on birthing, and I want to switch to talk about post-birth.
Mm-hmm.
Two questions. One, do you believe there are adequate and accessible post-birth resources in our community? And then two, how can providers better support Black mothers and birthing people with recovery and ongoing community needs?
I think there are a lot of good support systems and support resources in the community. And I think doulas and community health workers are tantamount to making sure that moms get those. I will say again, not again to slam, systems and hospitals, whatever, they're often unaware of what's available. So, there are always pockets. There are some really good providers who do their best to keep up with, what's around. And as a community, it behooves us to make sure we take our cards, our pamphlets, whatever, messaging material to doctors' offices so that they know that this is available. But in general, doctors are worried about the mom and the baby. And kind of once she delivers, they want to make sure mom's recovering okay. But beyond that, that they'll say that's not my problem. So if a mom is having trouble with housing, in this era of COVID, many people have been laid off or their hours have been reduced or they're furloughed or, I have one mom where she was in school and everything. Well, her childcare got cut off because of the COVID. So she can't go to class and she's trying to do classes at home, but she's got a toddler and, all of her supports were basically ripped out from underneath her. And the doctors would be like, well, I can't do anything with that. And that is where your doulas, your community health workers, the people in the community are so, so incredibly vital because, mom calls us and it's like, okay, let's see what we can marshal up. I might call you, I might call Phyllis, I might call, someone else in my network and say, okay, I have a mom that needs X. I have a mom who needs some meals. Phyllis just did a meals program. I have a mom who might need some childcare. So, we'll call someone that I know who has access to childcare. I had a mom who went through some stuff and she needed a room, called another friend. She's like, hey, try over here, try these two places, got names for her. Because that's the other thing. Sometimes giving mom a card or a piece of paper, it's kind of flat when we can say to mom, I talked to this person and they said for you to ask for Phyllis. And so that when she calls, she asks for Phyllis. I've already called Phyllis and said, hey, Phyllis, I'm sending you a mom of mine, give her a quick rundown on the mom so that when my mom or, birthing person mom calls Phyllis, they both kind of have a sense of who each other is, who they're talking to, what the needs are. So it's not this kind of, oh, what do you need? We've broken through that. And that's, I think, what's so important about community, because we know who, oh, Miss So-and-so has that. Let me call her and see if she can get you some. Or over here, this organization does that. And the hospitals and a lot of the providers, they just don't know what are the resources in the community.
Thank you for that. I want to pause for a second and check in with Phyllis and Kimberly. Do you have anything you want to add or ask Darline?
Yeah, I'm listening to Darline and about the community doulas, and I just wanted to pause and take a second to think about all the work that doulas do. I know that when I first met Darline, she was doing a home birth, but not only did the home birth occur, she went to the home afterwards too. She made sure that the mom was eating correctly. I remember her mentioning to me, Phyllis, we had to get the canned goods out because the sodium in the canned goods was a little bit too high for this mother. So her nutritional meals were being looked at to make sure that there were no, negative outcomes with this woman and her health after the birth was born. And so Darline is correct when we talk about community doulas being in the community. They're hands-on. They really know what's going on firsthand before they get, to the doctor's office, and even after, because the medical professionals don't really know what's in a person's cabinet and what they're eating, or if these different kind of effects are happening in their home. But I just wanted to piggyback off of what Darline had mentioned.
Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon. Today as I was moving about the city a little bit, I felt some type of way for the expecting mothers. And you all know me, I'm Miss Joy. And so what I noticed immediately is that the tone is different. Because of COVID-19, it's kind of like ripped the joy of the whole process out. We're starting to see things like drive-by baby showers and just really creative ways. And so I just wanted to know how you felt about how are expecting mothers feeling? What's the tone? What's the mood? Or is this just something that I am assuming?
No, I think you're absolutely correct, because nobody anticipated this. I think it was, when you talk to moms, I just did a Zoom prenatal with a mom yesterday, and we were talking about, in preparation for her birth, well, we're going to plan for this. We have two plans, the one where I'm able to go with her and the one for if I'm not, how, if her parents could come and it's a whole different type of preparation. For me, it's not as different because mamas on bed rest go through this all the time. And I think people do not realize there is a fairly large subset of the population of childbearing people that have high-risk pregnancies, such that they are not out and about in the population. They're either on home bed rest or restriction or in the hospital. And so this, for me, is not that different. It's like, oh, now everybody's a mama on bed rest in a sense, because you're not going out of your house except to go and see the doctor, or maybe to a job if you have a little bit of that. And then, well, how do I get with my friends? So now we're getting on Zoom, and we're doing these virtual baby showers. And thank God that we have things like Amazon and delivery services, because when I started in 2009, there weren't these types of services for moms. There wasn't curbside grocery pickup. And that's how I started. I was running around doing a lot of this for moms who were on bed rest. So yes, the era of COVID, there is a certain degree of joy that's gone, but I also see it as so much better than the women I served, say, in 2009, where we didn't have these technology things where we could Zoom. We did have Skype, which was kind of still pretty new, but we didn't have Zoom where we could have multiple people, where you could call HEB and they would deliver. And So there is some joy lost, but I think people have been really creative with the online baby showers and the online dance parties. And so it's different. I mean, I have to say I wouldn't want to be having a child now if it were me, but I do see some improvements that are making it more tenable. It's still not optimum, but more tenable.
Thank
You know, and I'll just say this as well. I'm 46 and I have 3 children, and the services of a doula was never really presented as an option for me. It was always my assumption that that was a service provided by the elite. I will, you know, and so how does a doula market themselves, and how do we make the services of a doula, especially during innovative times of COVID-19, more widely available, even regardless of your insurance type?
Okay.
How do we make this information more known?
Okay, well, there's a couple of things I want to unpack in that, because first and foremost, to my knowledge, in Texas, and I can only speak about Texas because I do know there's a little bit of coverage in some other states, there is no doula coverage on insurance, period. So that just wiped that off the table. So your assumption is correct. For people of means, doulas are accessible. It's a great thing. And, you know, we have that whole array. But one of the things that I think is critical to understand, there are doulas and there are community-based doulas. And there is a very strong distinction in that when we talk about, I think that the common thought of doulas is like, oh, she came and she brought essential oils and she rubbed my back and oh, it was great, it was wonderful. And there is nothing wrong with that. That is actually a doula. That is the role. She may see a mom and birthing family once or twice before the birth. She's there for the birth once or twice after, and then she's gone. A community-based doula is someone who is there with the mom and the family for almost 2 years. It is a firm commitment to the family, because what we are trying to do with the community-based doula model is to not only ensure that mom has all the resources and things that she needs to have a healthy pregnancy, full-term, healthy, normal weight infant, but also to kind of get her past some of the social determinants of health, which are housing, educational issues, financial issues, you know, does she have childcare, access to healthy, nutritious food? If she doesn't, you know, everybody's like, well, she's got WIC. Well, she can't get to the store. It doesn't matter what she's got. You know, we're just seeing in this era of COVID that they're allowing people to use their WIC to actually get food delivered. That was not a service before COVID. It was like, okay, you got WIC, but you got to go get that mess yourself. So, you know, we're seeing that now. But the difference between, I think, people's, you know, first concept of doula and a community-based doula is the community-based doula is like a coach, like a community health worker. She is this person who comes in as soon as you're pregnant or as soon as you call her, with the intention to stay with you through that child's first birthday. And even beyond. I mean, I still get pictures of some of my babies, and what kills me now is when I see them, they're like, hi. I'm like, whoa, you're talking. But it's, you know, it's a long-term commitment with this family to ensure that this family is constantly up on what is the latest in terms of resources, and then that they get them. When I hear of something, and Phyllis is great for this, she's like, ooh, girl, I heard about blah, blah, blah. I'm like, ooh, let me tell my moms. And I'm shooting out an email. Hey, did you all hear about this? This is something new that's available. And it's a constant, because what we're doing, we're not only trying to support the family, we're also trying to undergird the community. And that, I think, is a huge difference. A lot of the community-based doula projects like Healing Hands, they're nonprofits. And so we get funding that pays us so that the moms and the families don't have to worry about that.
Darline, we have, speaking of family, Saheed Seabury would like to know, what can he do as a Black male to better support and prepare his family during the process of childbirth?
I mean, say that again. I just missed the top half.
What can a Black male, so Saheed Seabury would like to know,
Okay.
what can he do as a Black male to better support and prepare his family during the process of childbirth?
Okay, so I work with the couple. So as much as possible, when I'm meeting with his wife or partner, if he can be there, that's the best thing, because then I'm teaching both of them. I'm sharing resources with both of them. I mean, obviously he's got to work. He's got things he has to do. Sometimes it doesn't work, but as much as possible, be involved, be engaged. I always like to ask partners, how involved do you want to be? Because I mean, the honest truth is not everybody can be like right down in the birth. It's intense. There's blood, there's stuff that it's not for everybody, but I assess where are you on this? How are you? And some guys will say, I'm good, and I don't necessarily want to see the baby come out. So that's fine. We make sure he's up at the head when the baby's coming. It's great. It's wonderful. He's taking pictures after. But you know, really getting to know where his comfort zone is, and then just giving him as many resources and as much support as possible so that he can be the best support.
Kimberly, is there another question that you'd like to ask from the
Oh,
audience?
yes. Right now during COVID-19, we also know that prenatal visits are structured much differently. And so my question would be, how often does the doula visit, and what can be expected after contacting you?
In the early prenatal period, I try to do at least once a month, sometimes more, sometimes less. I mean, it really depends. We try to structure what we're doing to meet the needs of the family. For example, if you were having a child, I know you said you're 46, you have 3 children, but if you were to become pregnant now and say, I want you to be my doula, how I would work with you and your family would be very different how I work with a 15-year-old first-time mom. I would probably see her a lot more times because, you know, as the saying is, this is not your first rodeo. Now, there are certain things for you that I would cover because you're an older mom, and there are certain things that we would be concerned about. But I may not have to say to your partner, oh, you need to do this, this, and this during birth, because he's like, I was there. You know, I mean, so there are certain things for your family that I would not have to do. Whereas if I'm dealing with a 15, 17-year-old first-time mom, there are some things I need to tell her that, you know, we need to help her understand, because so many young moms are like, I'm just going to go in and have the baby. And to an extent, it's true, because these girls can whip these kids out, but there's some transitions in the middle that they're like, I didn't know it would be like this, or I didn't know it would take over 12 hours. Yeah, it can take 24, 36 hours. So I really tailor it to what the mom needs. On average, once or twice a month early on, and then you want to give them some things to read, some things to think about. Especially the young ones, I send them to different websites because they're all over it. Versus I may give an older mom something to read because she's more comfortable with reading something like a handout thing. So you really want to work in the way that's best for the person you're serving. But by far, we see moms more than their OBs or their midwives or what have you, because we're going out to the house. You know, if she's telling me, well, I've had this challenge with my job, well, gee, let me see what I can find about that. And we're taking that piece of information to her. Hey, I had this other mom that this happens to. I want you to talk to her. So there's always this kind of influx of information and communication. Even if I may only be seeing her once a month, we're emailing, we're texting, we're talking back and forth. Hey, I saw this type of, you know, baby carrier. What do you think of it? Hey, I know that's a really good one. Try that. But you can get it over here cheaper. You know, I mean, all of these different types of things. We're constantly talking back and forth with our moms.
Thank you for answering that. So what it sounds like it's about the relationship.
Yes.
Thank you.
So then, so when we're talking about birthing, we would be remiss not to acknowledge that there are some people who may become pregnant and not want to give birth for various reasons. Maybe they're unable to afford a child in their current state, or they're sheltering in place with an abuser who may have taken away their choice in the matter. So can you share your perspective on the ongoing fight in Texas during the pandemic and the fallout that this could have in the long run?
I mean, Texas is its own brand of special. I mean, let me just start there. I mean, when I moved here, I was floored, dumbfounded, and it still never ceases to amaze me, because at the crux of it, I'm always like, okay, if we're talking HIPAA, how is it that anybody else knows what's going on in that exam room besides that woman and her doctor? You know, it is not my business. It's not your business. It's not anybody else's business of what she intends to do with the pregnancy, because I don't know what her home life is. I don't know what her financial situation is. And more importantly, I don't know what her health status is, because, you know, maybe she's got a kidney problem that the strain of a pregnancy can put her in kidney failure, which would kill her. You know, there are a lot of questions that I have about the legal restrictions and legalities of birthing in Texas that just boggle my mind, because like, well, we know all these women. How do you know? Were you there? You know, I mean, and if you were, then what does that say about our HIPAA requirements, where it's supposed to be private, where no one's supposed to know? And I think the other issue that's very frustrating, and people will say, well, you don't know that for sure. I don't know for sure, but I got a pretty good inkling that those of means will always have access. You know, we know that as far back as, you know, the beginning of time, those who can always will have. And it becomes, again, this situation of, if you're poor, Black, without means, then you're stuck, because a well-to-do white woman can go and it's, oh, she had, you know, an endometrial ablation, or, you know, some fancier name for a very similar procedure. So it is concerning, because not only are we dealing with the fact that access to things, because of COVID, they're shutting down different clinics or different parts of hospitals, and certain procedures aren't being done. They're being considered elective, and, you know, everybody's focused COVID. You know, we're not talking about the abused woman. You know, this came up with the schools. Everybody's like, oh, kids can just, you know, parents can homeschool. Well, yeah, that parent's beating that child. The learning system is very different for that child versus another child. So, you know, COVID is kind of rising to the surface like cream, the disparities and the differences in households and who has access to what, who is everybody's shelter in place. Well, home may not be a good shelter for a lot of people, that we haven't answered that question. What's happening when there's abuse, substance abuse, interpersonal violence, and all these things going on in the home? And then also, how do we as service people help the woman tell us, so that maybe we can get her help? Because, you know, maybe she texted me before, but now she can't use her phone. You know, maybe she would have called me before, but that's not an option now. You know, if the abuser is on her 24/7, it's very difficult for her now to reach out for help. And that in and of itself puts her and the baby that may be going at risk. So it adds another layer of complication that, you know, just makes things more difficult.
Right. Phyllis or Kimberly, do you have any like that? Either one.
I just had, I thought that was good, but I also just wanted to switch gears for a little bit, unless someone else had another question about that particular topic. I just wanted to ask Darline, maybe if she could expand upon, I know with community doulas, they work with them for about 2 years, they're with their family. So during COVID-19, I'm sure that Darline is probably seeing a lot of families that have given birth, and children are about 3 or 4 months in. What kind of emotional state is she finding that some of these mothers are in during COVID-19? How's their mental ability? How's their mental state? How are they dealing with the stressors? I don't know.
I mean, actually, for the women that I have on my roster, they're actually doing really well.
Okay.
I was surprised because, I was expecting more. I was expecting more in the way of perinatal mood and anxiety disorders because, we home like all the time. What I have found is for many moms, it's been good because even though financially it's been a little iffy for some folks, there are many women at home who would not have been. And so they're actually having this extra time to nurse, extra time to kind of sit and just hold the baby where they would have had to go back. So it's a double-edged sword there. There's some concern about the financial aspect of how is this going on, but at the same time, it's been a little bit of extra maternity leave where they've been able to have some extra time with their babies and nurse for longer and kind of not feel like, well, I got to hurry up and get up and I got to get up and do it because there really is nowhere to go. So, I mean, what I'm seeing just in my folks, and I, this would be something if you're talking to other doulas to pose, if we could figure out, like, get the stimulus like in other countries where we're going to pay folks over a few months, I think we would alleviate a lot of stress and a lot of angst for a lot of families. Because if you knew, okay, I'm going to have, $2,000, which we know isn't a lot, but would at least offset some things, that mom could literally be home 2, 3, 4 months and not have to worry about going out. One, that's good for her mental health. Two, it's good for her body because I still find far too many moms get up and get going too early. The bonding between mom and baby, and I'm seeing all kinds of little chunky babies. They are the cutest little things because mom has the time to nurse. And I don't care, the best Similac, Enfamil, or whoever else on the market it just does not stand up to breast milk. So they have these cheeks and the little rolls and they're happy because they're spending all this time with mommy. And, I do not in any way want to belittle the fact that I know it's stressing folks out financially. And I've seen some of the men, they're out and they're doing a couple of jobs and everything else that they can do. But I'm seeing in the moms, at least my moms, kind of I don't have anywhere to go anyway. And they're playing with the babies and they're nursing them, and they can nurse on demand because they're not like, well, I gotta like have the baby sleep all night because I gotta get up in the morning. They're just nursing. And it's actually a beautiful thing in the midst of a mess.
It looks like we had a question from Facebook, and that was with a home birth. If there was an emergency that arose, how quickly could the mother get help?
Well, there's a couple of things I want to add in about home births. One, if you're going to do a home birth, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And this is my opinion, so I want to come on the carpet saying that beforehand, that you have a skilled healthcare provider with you. Now, that is not a doula. I do not deliver. I mean, I do deliver, but that's not what I'm doing in the role as a doula. But a good midwife knows exactly what to do, and they come with gear. I mean, I've helped midwives. I've schlepped some of their stuff from the car. They come equipped. There is a lot a really good qualified midwife can do at the home before transport. And she can get a mom really well stabilized before that transport as well. So most of the home births that I've seen, the midwives are like armed to the teeth with all these different things, oxygen, this, that, the other thing, that if something happens, she's ready. It's only really in an extreme situation where the stability of mom and or baby is in question that they do the transport. So that has been my experience. And all midwives that I know have a relationship with an obstetrician and hospital such that they can get right over there and get in. So I've not seen that be an issue.
One last question before I kick it to Kimberly. For those who are seeking the support of a doula, and maybe this is their first time, what are important questions that these expecting parents should ask before connecting with or hiring a doula or a midwife?
You want to check and see how many births they've done. What are the range and variety of births they've done and attended? Because you just want to know, has she seen enough stuff that if something happens, she's going to know kind of what to do to help in that situation. Likewise, does she have backup? Because, you know, doulas get sick or have a kid that gets sick, or in this era of COVID, you know, maybe she tests positive and you need to hand it off. So, you know, do they have backup? What types of services do they offer? What is their radius of service? Because I mean, you know, telling me you're up in Temple, I got to think about that. You know, that's a hike. There are some cases where I would do, some I might not do. So, you know, you want to ask really what's her comfort level, what's her skill set. You need to be very open about your health history. I know I have women who are like, oh, you know, I have a history of herpes. I don't care, but I need to know that. You know, how you got it, where you got it, from who you got, I don't care, but I do need to know you have it so we can make sure you're on the proper antiviral so that your baby and you are not at risk. You know, women who have had an ectopic so that she has one tube, and not that that affects necessarily how I'm going to support her, but it rolls in my mind as she's going through the pregnancy, as we're going through labor and delivery, like what is her anatomy doing and how may I want to turn her in particular during labor and delivery. So, I mean, and you have to feel good about that person. And I mean, it's hard to say, but you know, talk to a lot of different people and see how you feel, because it, like, they could be in your business, in your house, and you got to feel good about them and with them, and that, you know, when you're at your most vulnerable, is this person going to stand in the gap for you, and is she just gonna be dead rock solid? Because if she's like, well, you know, I'm really not sure, and you know, you might want to be like, wait a minute. But you know, knowing that, and that does not mean that someone who is soft spoken is not rock solid, and I want to be clear about that. It's a manner of how she carries herself. Is she really secure in what she knows? And is she willing to say at times, I don't know, let me find out for you? Or is she even willing to say, you know what? I think what you need is not my best skill set. And I think that takes, you know, sometimes we know doulas don't get paid a lot. And sometimes people are like, I need this birth because I like need the money. That can't be your motivating factor, because you have to think in the best interest of the family. So both of you got to kind of see, you know, do that little date period, do a couple of meetings or one bigger meeting, and just see, is there that click, that feeling, that connection of my skill set matches the family, and does the family feel like our need for intimacy actually fits with this person?
Darline, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. I really appreciate your knowledge and your expertise in having you here today. And so, Kimberly, we'd like to give us our takeaway and summary and close us out.
Absolutely. Darline Turner, I just want to thank you for your time today. This is a conversation we could go, it has so many different avenues. We could go on and on and on. And so we thank you for being here. What I'd like to do right now with this portion of the show is to share your information, how people can get in touch with you. And the website is blackdoulas.blackmamas.org. Again, if you would like to reach out to Darline the doula, I've given her a name. You can reach her at blackdoulasblackmamas.org. In this particular thank you. And I want to thank Courtney again for facilitating this conversation ever so beautifully. It is a very delicate situation, a very delicate topic, and so you handled that with style and grace. So thank you for that. In this particular portion of the show, as we begin to wrap up, again, we like to be true to your time. This is the Power Hour where we bring real people with real talk and real resources. So one of our resources we'd like to offer to you is PBS Austin. And you can reach them at pbslearningmedia.org, and they're offering services for kids K through 12. Also, really importantly, is Saffron Trust. Just last week, this is week number 2 for this show. Just last week, Saffron Trust, in collaboration with other nonprofits, was able to offer over $55,000 to families in need of immediate financial assistance due to COVID. Now, I've already told you all, we're not getting on this live feed just to put some lip paint on, as we learned last week, or to look cute. We're here to offer you some real resources. So if you or a family you know is in need of financial services, we do have some resources available, and we'd like for you to fill out a form with us at saffrontrust.org. You will find more information there. We've decided to do it this particular way in order to honor the privacy of the families that we serve. So again, let's give a big round of applause and a shout out to Saffron Trust for not only talking about it, but being about it. $55,000 to women right here in Central Texas. Woo, 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 woo. Also, last week we had Rakima on the show, who is a play therapist. I want to make sure I give you her information. She is with Centered Counseling, and you can reach her at centeredcounselingtexas.com. And also Healing Hands. Again, if you want to reach out to Darline Turner, which is our special guest for today, we thank you. She is at Black Doulas, blackmamas.org. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to the visionary of Saffron Trust, Miss Phyllis Everett, to wrap us up and give us any announcements. Thank you so much.
Yes, each of you ladies did an amazing job. I just love sitting back and listening to each of you. It's like I should have popcorn. Darlene, you know, I want to jump over the table every time you talk. Courtney, I just happen to absolutely love you. And the way you formulated the questions are so good. Kimberly, you are just the best, the best, the best. And so it's almost like the View here, right? We have us a little team. And so just thank you so much. All of the things that Kimberly mentioned and all of the resources are in the links. Should be in the Facebook Live links. We always share them. So you don't have to worry about writing those down quickly. You can go back to the link and refer to the link and get that information. But we are about, you know, providing information, awareness, and resources. And so again, we just love all of the people who have streamed in live to watch us. Next week, we have a real treat for you. We have Miss Mia Greer, who will be presenting. She is the COO of Community Coalition for Health. They are well known in the community. They are doing a lot of work in the community, and she's going to come with a fierce topic. You don't want to miss it. We'll be sending out invites and media stuff on her, so make sure you lock it into your calendar. Next Thursday, we will have Miss Mia Greer from Community Coalition Health. And they were actually also our sponsors last week, and they provided gifts to a lot of the women who received gifts last week. So thank you again. And we want to be true to your time. We have about 7 minutes left, but I think we're going to end it here. And thank you everyone for joining us. Make sure you like us on Instagram, Saffron Trust 1, that's SAFFRON Trust 1, and that's on Instagram and Facebook. Have an amazing, amazing day. Thank you so much.